You go to the gym consistently, you eat carefully, but that belly still refuses to disappear? Let me tell you something directly right now. You are not failing because you are not trying hard enough. You are failing because you do not fully understand what your body is actually doing. And here is something most fitness experts will never tell you, because it sounds so simple that people assume it cannot possibly be true. The most dangerous type of fat in your body, the kind of fat wrapped around your liver, your intestines, and your heart, does not primarily respond to calories. It responds to hormones, to circadian rhythms, to the way you sleep and the way you live from morning until night. And some of the simple habits our ancestors practiced every single day without even thinking about them can influence this type of fat more deeply than almost any workout you are currently doing. Sounds hard to believe? Let me explain it using real science. 1. The problem why you keep working out but still cannot lose belly fat. I want you to try remembering the last time you genuinely looked in the mirror and felt satisfied with your waistline. For many people, that moment has never truly arrived, even though they have gone jogging, even though they have dieted, even though they have tried almost everything. And that is not their fault. It is the fault of misinformation. Because there is a fundamental truth about visceral fat that most of us have never been taught correctly. Visceral fat is not the same as subcutaneous fat. You cannot directly see it in the mirror. You cannot pinch it with your fingers. But you can feel its presence through an expanding waistline, through the sensation of a heavy body, even without major weight gain, through unstable blood sugar levels, through persistent fatigue that never fully makes sense. This is the type of fat that attaches itself deep between your internal organs, around your liver, around your pancreas, around your intestines, and because of that, it is influenced primarily not by the number of calories you burn during a workout, but by the entire hormonal environment inside your body across 24 hours every single day. That is why you see people running 5 days a week, sweating intensely, carefully controlling their food intake, yet their waistline still does not shrink. Their bodies still feel heavy. Their blood sugar still fluctuates unpredictably. Their exhaustion still follows them everywhere. Not because they are lazy, but because they are using a tool that is far too narrow to solve a much larger problem. They are only trying to influence one small part of the equation, while most of the other forces, insulin, cortisol, sleep quality, and baseline movement patterns, are still moving in the opposite direction. And here is the part I find most fascinating when studying this subject. People who lived before the modern era, people who had no gyms, no treadmills, no step-counting applications, often had dramatically lower levels of visceral fat than we do today. Not because they exercised in extreme ways, but because the way they lived every day, the way they moved, the way they ate, the way they slept unintentionally aligned perfectly with what human biology actually needs in order to avoid storing excess fat. And that is exactly what we are going to explore in this video. 2. Habit number 1: walking after meals. I want to begin with the simplest habit of all, and also the one that I think many people will ignore because it does not sound serious enough. That habit is walking after meals. 10 to 20 minutes. No need to change clothes. No special equipment required. Just stand up and walk. It sounds like a little health tip from a wellness book written for elderly people, right? But let me explain what is actually happening at the biochemical level when you do this, and you will understand why this is one of the strongest signals you can possibly send to your body. After eating especially meals containing starches, rice, bread, noodles, or similar carbohydrates, your blood sugar levels begin to rise. This is a completely normal physiological response. Your body releases insulin in order to move that glucose into your cells so it can be used for energy. Up to this point, there is no problem. The problem begins when you finish eating and immediately sit down, sitting while working, sitting while scrolling on your phone, sitting during meetings, and your body is forced to handle that entire blood sugar spike using insulin alone. Insulin rises sharply. Fat cells receive the signal to store energy, and this process repeats itself 3 times a day, every day, for many years. But what happens when you stand up and take a gentle walk immediately after eating? The muscles in your legs, hips, and back begin contracting and activating. And when muscles become active, they gain the ability to pull glucose directly out of the bloodstream and into the cells without requiring insulin. This is an incredibly important biological mechanism. The result is that the post-meal blood sugar spike becomes flatter. Insulin no longer needs to rise excessively, and your body does not receive such a powerful store more fat signal. By doing this consistently every day, you gradually begin rebuilding a healthier insulin environment inside your body, and visceral fat responds to that more deeply than almost any cardio session you do on weekends. This is not theory. This is the actual biological system your body operates on. And our ancestors practiced this every single day without anyone needing to remind them, because after eating, they did not have sofas waiting for them to immediately sit down on. 3. Habit number 2: building muscle the way our ancestors did. I want to ask you a very direct question. Do you believe that in order to lose belly fat, you simply need to do more cardio, more running, more cycling, more jump rope? If you do, I completely understand why you think that, because that is what people talk about the most. But here is what real science actually shows. Muscle is what determines the foundation of your metabolism. And if that foundation is weak, then cardio, no matter how much you do, is like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. Understand this in the simplest possible way. Muscle is the only tissue in your body that continuously consumes energy even while you are sitting still, sleeping, or reading this article. A person with more lean muscle mass burns more energy every single day even while doing nothing, compared to someone with less muscle despite having the same body weight. But even more important than the calorie number itself is this: muscle is the primary location where your body uses glucose. The more muscle you have, the more storage tanks your body has available to pull glucose out of the bloodstream. That means blood sugar is regulated more smoothly, insulin does not need to work excessively hard, and the fat storage signal is not constantly activated. When insulin sensitivity improves, and this is the key point, visceral fat begins losing the advantage that allowed it to survive in the first place. Because this deep internal fat thrives most aggressively inside a body where insulin remains chronically elevated, metabolism becomes sluggish, and cells no longer respond properly to biological signals. That is the perfect environment for visceral fat. But when you build and maintain healthy muscle mass, you are disrupting that entire environment from the inside out. Now you may ask, does that mean I need a gym membership? Do I need an intense workout program? The answer is not necessarily, at least not in the way you are probably imagining. Look back at our ancestors. They did not have barbells, leg press machines, or split routines separating leg day from arm day. Yet they often had far better muscle quality than most modern people. Why? Because their bodies were constantly working, carrying water from the source back home, bending down to collect firewood, standing up from the ground dozens of times every single day, pulling, pushing, climbing, carrying, not for 45 minutes and then stopping, but spread naturally throughout the entire day. And that is what many people are truly missing today. Not workout intensity, but muscle activation frequency throughout the day. You can go to the gym 5 times a week, but if you spend the rest of your time sitting continuously for 9 hours a day, your muscles are barely being activated. Your body slowly begins to forget that it even has muscle. And the consequence is reduced insulin sensitivity, a slower metabolic foundation, and more reasons for visceral fat to remain exactly where it is. So the question I want you to think about is, not only am I training hard enough, but also, are my muscles being used frequently enough throughout the day? Stand up every hour. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Carry objects with your hands instead of always using carts. Squat down instead of bending your back when picking something up. These things sound small, but accumulated across many hours and many days, they create a foundation of muscle activation that no gym workout can fully replace. 4. Habit number 3: the natural fasting window. Now we arrive at the part where I know many people immediately react with, "Oh great, fasting again." And I understand that skepticism, because intermittent fasting has been exaggerated, commercialized, and turned into so many complicated systems that people no longer even know where to begin. But what I want to talk about here is not a specific fasting protocol. I want to talk about a much simpler biological principle, and once you understand it, you will see why the modern way of eating has become one of the biggest reasons visceral fat stubbornly remains in the body. Try thinking back to yesterday. What time did you eat breakfast? And what time was your final meal or your last snack at night? For most office workers, that time span stretches from around 7 in the morning until 10 at night, meaning the body continuously receives incoming energy for roughly 15 hours straight. Sweetened morning coffee, breakfast, mid-morning snacks, lunch, afternoon tea with pastries, dinner, fruit late at night, sometimes an extra bite of something before sleep. Every single time you eat, every single time you drink something containing calories, insulin is released again. And during those 15 hours, Insulin never truly gets the opportunity to drop to a low baseline level. And this is the core problem, because only when insulin drops low enough does the body begin shifting into a mode where it starts drawing energy from stored reserves. Imagine it this way. High insulin acts like a lock blocking the door to your fat storage. When you constantly eat even small amounts, you continuously keep that lock in the closed position. The body has no reason to enter the storage room because fresh fuel keeps arriving non-stop. And visceral fat simply continues sitting there in storage, day after day, year after year. A natural fasting window, not a complicated 16 to 8 protocol. Not starving yourself for an entire day simply means creating periods of time during the day where you do not eat anything, giving insulin enough time to drop. Allowing the body to receive the signal, no new fuel is coming in, open the storage room. Ancient humans practiced this completely naturally, not because they possessed extraordinary discipline, but because food was not always available. Between meals, they did not have refrigerators to constantly open or food delivery applications one tap away from their fingertips. Those natural gaps between meals were an essential part of human biology, and our bodies evolved to function well within those gaps, not despite them. And what becomes fascinating is when you combine both of these things together, properly activated muscle and sufficiently long natural fasting windows. Their effects begin amplifying one another in a beautifully efficient biological way. Muscle improves your ability to use glucose efficiently when you eat, meaning insulin no longer needs to spike excessively. Fasting windows open access to fat storage when you are not eating, allowing the body to genuinely tap into stored energy reserves. One improves energy consumption efficiency, the other unlocks energy release. Together, they create the metabolic cycle your body was originally designed to operate on, but modern life has unintentionally disrupted. And I want to add one more important thing before moving on to the next section. A fasting window does not mean you must suffer from hunger. It does not mean starving until your head feels dizzy. It simply means stopping the unconscious snacking between meals. Let your main meals remain true meals, eat enough, eat until satisfied, eat quality food. And between those meals, drink water, drink unsweetened tea, and allow your body to do the job it was biologically designed to do during those empty spaces. That is all. No complicated protocol required, no tracking application required. Just understand the principle and allow your body to operate according to its natural rhythm. 5. Habit number for sleep and darkness. This is the section that I think will make many of you stop and genuinely think, because we usually imagine fat loss as something that happens while we are active running, training, pushing ourselves harder. But there is a physiological truth that very few people truly internalize. Some of the most important metabolic decisions your body makes do not happen while you are sweating inside a gym. They happen while you are lying still in darkness, while your body quietly decides whether tonight it will repair and release or continue holding on. Let me paint you a familiar picture. 9 o'clock at night. You are lying in bed with your phone in your hand, a bright white screen shining directly into your eyes. Maybe you are scrolling through social media, maybe watching short videos, maybe simply reading the news. 11 o'clock, midnight. Your eyes feel heavy, but your brain keeps running. Eventually, you fall asleep, but it is shallow, fragmented sleep, and when morning comes, you still wake up exhausted. Then the cycle repeats itself day after day after day. If this sounds like you, I am not saying it to judge you. I am saying it because this is precisely one of the biggest reasons your visceral fat refuses to leave, no matter what else you try to do. Here is what is actually happening inside your body during that scenario. When light, especially blue light from phones, computers, and televisions, enters your eyes during the evening, your brain receives a very clear signal. Daylight is still present, the environment is still active, it is not yet time to rest. And once the brain receives that signal, it delays the release of melatonin, the hormone that does not merely make you sleepy, but also synchronizes your entire circadian rhythm, including how your body handles insulin and distributes energy throughout the night. When melatonin is delayed, when sleep arrives too late, and lacks deep restorative quality, the body never fully enters true recovery mode. And when that happens repeatedly, cortisol, the stress hormone, begins rising at the wrong time. Cortisol itself is not the enemy. It was designed to rise naturally in the morning to help you wake up and prepare for the day. But when cortisol rises at night because of poor sleep and disrupted circadian rhythms, that is when everything becomes problematic. Chronically elevated nighttime cortisol sends a message to the body that the environment is unstable Energy must be conserved, and fat, especially abdominal fat and fat surrounding internal organs, should be retained as emergency backup storage. This is why you encounter people who do not eat excessively, who still exercise consistently, yet their belly fat clings to them in an almost mysterious way. The first question I always want to ask those people is, how do you sleep? How many hours do you sleep? Do you stop using your phone before bed? Because very often, the answer is hidden there, not in the number of workouts or the number of calories consumed. And this is the most important thing I want you to understand in this section. Your body does not store fat because it is intentionally working against you. It stores fat because it is responding logically to the signals you send it every single night. If every evening is filled with bright light, digital noise, inconsistent sleep schedules, and shallow sleep quality, your body interprets that as an unstable environment, and it responds appropriately for an unstable environment, holding tightly onto stored energy, especially fat surrounding the organs. On the other hand, when you begin creating evenings that are darker, quieter, and more consistent, when you reduce blue light exposure 1 to 2 hours before sleep, when you go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, when you create an environment where the brain receives a clear signal that tonight is meant for recovery, your body begins operating differently. Melatonin is released at the proper time. Cortisol falls appropriately during the night. And during deep sleep, the body performs some of its most important metabolic work, including rebalancing hormones and creating the internal conditions that allow stored fat to be released instead of continuously protected. Our ancestors never needed reminders about this. When the sun disappeared, darkness arrived naturally. There were no glowing screens, no bright light-emitting diode lights shining directly into their eyes at 11 o'clock at night. They slept when darkness arrived and woke when daylight returned, a rhythm the human body evolved alongside for hundreds of thousands of years. We disrupted that rhythm within only a few short decades, and then wondered why the body began reacting in ways we never expected. So what is the practical change here? It is not complicated. Beginning 1 hour before sleep, reduce screen brightness or turn screens off completely. Make your bedroom as dark as possible, heavy curtains, no nightlights if possible. Try going to bed and waking up at the same time, even on weekends. And if you only accomplish one thing from this section, choose this one. Stop using your phone 1 hour before bed. That alone is already a powerful enough signal for the body to begin recalibrating itself. 6. Connecting the entire picture biological environment is what truly determines the outcome. Now step back and look at the entire picture. We have gone through 4 habits: walking after meals, building and regularly activating muscle, creating natural fasting windows, and sleeping according to your biological rhythm in darkness. And if you look carefully, you will notice that all of them revolve around one single principle: creating the correct internal environment inside the body, so it no longer feels the need to hold tightly onto fat as a form of protection. Visceral fat is not an enemy that must be destroyed through force. It is a biological response from a body trying to survive in an environment it interprets as unstable: insulin constantly elevated, cortisol frequently high, muscles rarely used, circadian rhythms disrupted. When that environment changes, when the body begins receiving consistent signals that energy is being managed properly, that nighttime is meant for recovery, that the body is being used in the way it was biologically designed to function, visceral fat gradually loses its reason for remaining there. And this is what I truly want you to take away from this video. Not a new list of exercises, not another diet plan, but a different question, a smarter question that you ask yourself every single day. What kind of biological environment did I create inside my body today? Was my insulin properly managed? Were my muscles used frequently enough? Was my evening dark and quiet enough for my body to genuinely recover? When you begin asking yourself those questions instead of the old question, how many calories did I burn today, you are beginning to play an entirely different game. A game your body was actually designed to win. Before ending this video, I want to say one important thing very directly. Everything I shared in this video is scientific information intended to help you understand your body better. It is not personal medical advice. If you currently have diabetes, hypoglycemia, adrenal problems, if you are pregnant, breastfeeding, or taking any medication that affects blood sugar or blood pressure, please speak with a doctor before making any major lifestyle changes, especially when it comes to extended fasting windows or suddenly increasing exercise intensity. And if, during the process of making these changes, you begin feeling dizzy, unusually exhausted, experience irregular heartbeats, or your sleep becomes worse, that is not a sign that you are finally burning fat. That is a sign that you are moving too fast. A body that is genuinely improving becomes more stable, not more chaotic. Listen to your body, it is always communicating with you, but many times we simply are not paying attention. And the final thing I want to leave you with is this. The journey of sustainable visceral fat loss is not a battle you must win through pure willpower. It is a process of rebuilding trust between you and your body. Start small. Take a walk after dinner tonight. Turn your phone off 1 hour earlier tonight. Stop unconscious snacking between meals tomorrow. Stand up from your chair once every hour this week. These things are not glamorous. They do not create the dramatic feeling of an exhausting workout session, but they are speaking to your body in the exact language it understands best, and over time, your body will begin responding in the way you want it to. If this video helped you see fat loss from a more realistic and scientifically grounded perspective, leave a comment below telling me which of these 4 habits feels the hardest for you to implement. I read every comment, and I will create deeper videos on each topic if you want them. Subscribe to the channel if you want to continue understanding your body through science and practical reality. No hype, no miracle promises, only things that genuinely work. I will see you in the next video.